Today we are here with our very own CEO, Philip Sofer, and we are here to address some of the questions that you've shared with us.
Great, glad to be here.
So firstly, we're going to do some business-related questions, and we got some fun ones for you at the end. So to start, with Test.io's acquisition by Epam, will we increase the range of testing services offered to our customers? For example, in addition to exploratory testing, will we offer test automation, test planning, design, management assistance, or load and performance testing? And this was sent in by team leader Terry.
All right. Hi, Terry. So yes, I would say over time, we definitely will be expanding the range of services that we offer. I think the first proposition that we always ask when we think about an additional service is, can human beings do it better than computers? So for things like load and performance testing, those are areas where I'm not sure that human intervention is really an upgrade over an automated system. Whereas things like developing automated tests, things like developing test plans, human beings are great. And as we get more opportunities for more skills in the mix, we definitely would like to be able to offer those things as service offerings.
Excellent, thank you. Next question is from Tester Charlie, and he asks, could you tell us some of your plans for the near future of Test.io?
Hi, Charlie. So near term, obviously what we're doing as part of the combination with Epam is very important. So we have to learn how to work with our new partners. And what's exciting from the tester standpoint there is that there are going to be a lot of different opportunities with a lot of, more involved sorts of testing. And so, one of our main areas of focus is figuring out who can do what kinds of testing and better offering all these opportunities to the people who are going to enjoy them and make the most use out of them. In combination with that, we're working hard on the user story testing product that you may have seen in Test.io. And so we're working to improve that so that we get lots of opportunities for user story testing, so that you have a chance to make money that way, to find bugs that are part of user stories, and to overall sort of have a more predictable path for yourselves within testing. So a lot going on with Test.io, but I think a lot of things that are going to be positive for the testers.
Great. Next, Tester Storm asks, do you plan to open another Test.io office, and if so, in which country?
Hi, Storm. So right now there's two Test.io offices. There's the main one in Berlin, which is where the R&D team is. It's where Stefan and Evgenia are, and we run our German European operations from there. Then there's the second one here in California, where I am, where Max Schultz is, and where we sell and service North American customers. So those are the two offices now. But as part of Epam, we now have offices in a lot of cities. So whether it's Los Angeles or New York or London or St. Petersburg or Kiev or Minsk or Singapore or Hyderabad, these are all offices now where theoretically we can be running some Test.io operations from. So while I'm not sure we will be offering a Test.io specific office experience in any of these places, I suspect that over time, people who are working with Test.io will have contact in these offices, because now we are truly a follow-the-sun global organization.
Phil, can you talk a bit about your background in community management, particularly as it relates to Test.io? What has been the greatest challenge, and what has been the most exciting part of organizing and running a community within Test.io?
My background in community management actually goes back to 1983 when I ran a bulletin board through a dial-up modem in my parents' basement in Connecticut with an Apple II. using software that I modified for that purpose. So I go way back when it comes to bringing people together in an online context. Prior to Test.io, I was the VP of product development for a company called Lithium Technologies, which makes online support forums for big companies, so like the Sonys and the Verizons of the world. And I wasn't actually the community manager, but as the person in charge of developing the product, a lot of the features that we built were meant to foster the ability of our community members to help one another and to help the company that was underwriting the community. So that's a little bit of my background there. And when I got to Test.io, it was very interesting because there were many testers, but there was not actually a community management function at all. And so, I guess the first and biggest challenge there was actually figuring out what we meant by community management in the Test.io world, and then in establishing community management as a function. And so we found a very good person to do that, Anyo, and he really helped us very much get that off the ground. It's obviously been transitioned to Stefan and now Evgenia as well. So I feel like the tester community is in good hands, but I think that the challenge continues to be, and I think will always be, making sure that we have the right people doing the right things at the right time. So our tester community has grown, I think, by a factor of 10 in terms of the number of people who are in the database since I started at Test.io a little over 3 years ago. So we have more people, and we know better what you all are good at doing. But sometimes it takes us a long time to figure that out, and sometimes we don't always act on that knowledge as well as we could in who gets invitations and what they get to do and how they get compensated and all those things. So I think as we move forward into the next round and into more complex tests and into more tests that are associated with our new Epam clients, we're just continuing to really try to make sure that we are attracting the right people, giving you the right education and the right skills, and then making sure that you have opportunities that are commensurate with what you want to do and with your skills and experience. So that, I think, is always the challenge for community management in Test.io, and I hope that we'll continue to get better and better at it. And I hope that you'll tell us when you feel like you're not getting interesting and challenging enough work, because that's a signal for us that we need to change things. And we don't want to hear about that only when you've left. That would be a shame. So definitely keep us up to date on what you want to be doing, and we'll try to accommodate.
The next question is also from tester Charlie. And the question is, how would you define the employee value proposition for testers within the community of testers at Test.io? And how can a tester identify these propositions in his or her everyday work with the company?
That's a good question, Charlie. So first and most fundamentally, our testers are the reason we're here. So we build a product and we sell that product, and we have customer success management teams to help our customers get the most out of that product. But what it all comes down to in the end is the work that our testers do every day. So one thing I like to tell people who work here, especially in the customer-facing, customer management context, is that Test.io is an extremely adaptable platform because our people are highly adaptable. So everything that you do, or every problem that we get, is a problem that our testers get to try and help us solve. And what we're looking for is for all of our testers, or as many of them as can be, to be really adaptable and to help us solve these problems for customers. And that may mean that you get things coming to you that you did not expect, that you would not have thought of that morning. And so I think this value proposition is that you can work where you want and when you want, and that sometimes you're going to get things that are just weird and that require you to be adaptable. And if you can adapt and you can kind of roll with some of these new opportunities, I think that's a great way to think about this as a way station in your career. Is you just get a lot of different opportunities to try things and hopefully figure things out. And the value of being adaptable and figuring it out is something that we really cherish among the employee base here at Test.io, and that includes our testers.
Next question is from tester Frank, and the question goes as follows. In this ever-evolving world we live in, the way things are done changes rapidly. Manual processes are commonly being automated. Do you think manual testing will be phased out in the near future?
So that's an interesting question, Frank. And I think it depends a lot on what your perspective is. So, for example, from the perspective of many of our customers, they have phased out manual testing. And that's precisely why they come to Test.io. So what I mean by that is they don't want to pay people on their payroll who are only doing manual testing, because what they found, and I think this is right, is that if those people are testing in an exploratory way the same product over and over again that they helped build and that they've tested for a long time, they're not getting the best exploratory testing out of those people, because they become kind of habituated to the product. Nor do they want to pay people to just run the same test cases over and over again, because that is actually something that computers are going to do better than people. So what we've tried to do at Test.io is provide a value proposition for the customer that says you can get the best out of manual testing. That is, people who are like your customers, they're using the application in a way that a very smart and somewhat mischievous customer might use the application. They're fresh to it, and they're available for you when you need it. So that doesn't mean that no human being tests the application manually, but it does mean that different human beings do it under different circumstances. And when people say that there's no more manual testing, that companies like Google and Facebook don't do manual testing, that's nonsense. They've actually figured out how to do it at scale, right? So when Google has a new version of YouTube, Google says, hey, Google employees, who wants to try the new YouTube? And 40,000 hands shoot up, because everybody wants to try the new YouTube. And when they do, and they find bugs in it, they file bugs just the same way that you guys do. And then eventually, Google releases that version of YouTube to 0.1% of the YouTube user base, and that's 20 million people. And they get a lot of manual testing that way. So companies like Google do a ton of manual testing. They've just figured out how to do it at scale, right? And with Test.io and our tester community, that's what we're giving to the client. We're giving them the ability to do this kind of manual testing at scale. So I don't think manual testing goes away, but I think that it changes, and I think you guys who are in the tester community are sort of part of that change. And I hope that in the course of the manual testing that you do, especially if you are looking to move forward in different kinds of jobs in the technology industry, you use that as a basis for understanding a little bit how software is built and how it can break, because that's a really important set of knowledge to have.
This next question comes from Tester Maxime, and the question is, when did you join Test.io, and what was your reason to start working with Test.io?
So I joined in May of 2016, and I was approached for the role by someone that I had actually hired in 1999 out of college, who was an investor in Test.io. And what made it attractive to me, a couple things. One is I love the idea of a community-based or crowd-based business. And as the head of product development at Lithium, I'd actually tried to do crowd testing internally. It didn't work because the people that we had doing the testing were community moderators, so they're not good testers like you guys. They didn't know how to file bugs properly or reproduce things, any of the stuff that you guys do really well. They didn't quite know how to do. But I heard about this, and I'm like, well, if somebody figured out how to do this, it's actually kind of great. And so that was a big impetus for me. It was also really exciting for me to move to Germany. I had never lived in Germany, and I don't speak German. So I like to do things that are a little bit adventurous. So the whole family just picked up and moved from California to Berlin, and that was a great opportunity.
What is the best part about your job?
The best part about my job is my colleagues. I really enjoy everybody that I work with, and I think one of the perks of being the CEO of a small company is you get to choose the people that you spend your time with, and I think we've chosen really well here. I think everybody here is smart and works hard and has a great attitude, so it's actually really fun to come to work every day.
Great. And that wraps up the first portion of our questions, so thank you, testers, for sharing those with us. Next, we just have a couple more. These ones you could call the more fun and entertaining questions. So to start, Phil, this is also from Tester Maxime, and the question is, what do you usually do for fun outside of work?
Is there outside of work? I work a fairly long day. So my first meeting is generally like at 6 or 6:30 a.m. and then I leave the office about 12 hours later, and I have a wife and 3 kids. So there's not a huge amount of time, but I spend a fair bit of time with my family. We like to be outdoors. I like to go bike riding in the hills behind my house. I like to go backpacking in the backcountry, and just in general, hang out outdoors with my family in California.
Speaking of California, the next question is the California life the dream life? And most of us know California mainly from movies and TV. The combination of nature, exciting tech startups, and the nice weather seem to be just perfect. So how is your life here in California?
So my life is pretty good. It's a very, very nice place to live. We have, as you put it, really great nature and really great economic opportunity right now for people in the tech industry. And it's a place that a lot of people come to from around the world. So there's a lot of cultural diversity that you can encounter. And when you work in an office here, you're often working with people who've come from a lot of different places to be in California. So that part's really good. But I think you should also be aware of some of the downsides of California right now. Probably the most important one is it's incredibly expensive to live here. And so because so many people are coming for opportunities and because the tech industry has been successful economically, that means that there's just a lot of people competing for a fairly small number of apartments and houses. So the cost of housing has gone up a lot. That makes it harder to live here, and it makes it so that, frankly, a lot of my friends are moving away because if they want to buy a house, they can't do it here. They can't afford it, and people like teachers and nurses and firefighters, they have a really hard time living in the communities where they work, and that's kind of a shame. And when you kind of walk along the street in this incredibly wealthy area and you're stepping over bodies of people, which I do every day, it's really hard to see. So as much as I love California and as great as it is, we really do also have some challenges here. And what you see in the films and in Hollywood is not the entire reality of it.
And lastly, to brighten the mood a little bit, as you know, we love dogs at Test.io, especially in the Berlin office where you may be familiar with Rudy, Tucker, Lola. The question is, are you a cat or a dog person, and do you have any pets?
Yeah, I'm definitely a dog person, more than a cat person. Sorry, cat people. And I know Rudy pretty well from because he was there when I lived there. I know Tuck, from visits, and I don't know if I've ever overlapped in the office with Lola. Maybe once, but I don't know her as well as I know the other two dogs, which I think are fantastic. I really, Tuck is like unbelievably cute, preternaturally cute, and Rudy is so chill. He's like the chillest dog I've ever seen. I don't have any dogs right now, or any pets. My kids really want to have a dog, and as you can probably see, I'm really into dogs. The only problem is our house isn't that big. There's 3 kids and my wife, and so that's 5 mammals in a fairly small house, and I'm the only one who picks up after himself, and I just don't know if we can have another mammal in there right now. I think the place could just kind of go kabloom with mess. But my kids are on me. I think eventually it'll happen. But for now, we're dog free.
Great. And before we go, do you have anything else you'd like to say to our testers out there?
Oh, I'm glad that you're here, and I love the idea that we're helping you in your career or in your lives in some way, and I hope we can be a good partner to you, and we're out there every day trying to find interesting opportunities for you to hone your craft and to earn money and to pursue your dreams. So I hope we can continue to work together.
Well, big thank you to our testing community around the world, and a big thank you to Phil for your time today.
Thank you.